it's as close you could be to winning the tournament without winning. Do you look at that as like, wow, what an incredible week, that went better than even I could have expected, or how do you look back at that?
That was my first major. I hadn't played in a major before, and whether you like it or not, it is a little bit different, especially at Augusta, where you know all the history, and it's the only major you come back to every year, so you know all the shots and all these things. And it was definitely like a childhood dream moment to walk up 18, knowing probably that I wasn't going to win, but it was still going to be a good week and a great tournament for me. So that was definitely a cool memory.
Ludvig, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I want to talk about Sweden, and who better to talk about Sweden with than you? What? Let's just start with like dumb, basic question.
Sure.
How do you describe Sweden to like someone that's never been there?
It's a beautiful country in the summertime. Don't go in the wintertime because it's cold and it's dark, and
Don't even
everyone
go.
wants to leave.
What did you do in the winter when you were growing up?
I was there in the cold, yeah. I developed a hatred is a big word, but big dislike to snow and cold. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I was around it for such a long time, and now I'm so happy that I live in Florida. I don't get to be around it too much.
All right, so I kind of interrupted you partway though. It's like, all right, summer's great. What's going on in the summer? Like, what are people up to?
I think it's just a nice. Obviously, it doesn't get too hot. Like certain parts of America, I feel like in the summertime it's just too hot. Like can't really be outside.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it gets to like 25 Celsius tops, and it's just so nice. Everyone's outside. We got daylight till midnight, and everyone's like barbecuing and hanging out outside. And it's just because it's the couple of weeks a year where it's actually nice outside, and everyone's just like fully taking advantage of it.
I realize it's a large country with a lot of different people, but is there a simple way that you kind of characterize the culture, how people treat each other, and what the general vibe is?
They're very nice, they're very kind, but they're also very private. You wouldn't see people like just randomly talk on a bus. Like it's just like I'm sitting here and you're sitting over there. You wouldn't see strangers come up to each other and just chat. It's very like that.
You stay in your own lane.
Yes, 100%.
Are you that way?
I think deep down I am, but I think I've gotten a little bit more towards the other way as the years passed. I think.
Yeah. So when you
Americanized.
came to Texas, Tech,
Yeah.
like what was that culture shock like?
Yeah, it was different. It was very different. High school in Sweden, came over for Texas. I had a lot of stereotypes about Texas, and they were all true. So,
what's one stereotype that is true about Texas?
I mean, it's just very southern, barbecue, redneck, all these things, and it's great. I loved it for 4 years. It was the best place for me to go to college, and I'm very glad I did.
How about from a golf perspective? Like, what is Swedish golf culture? Is it country clubs, private country clubs, and then munis and city courses and public courses in the same way as the U.S.?
I think we have one private club in Sweden, so it's not at all. It's a lot cheaper than it is here, so there is a lot more availability to golf, I'd say. I can show up with my friends and we can go play wherever. There's pay and play courses. You don't necessarily have to belong to a club, but you can still go play. And there is a culture of playing a lot. I'd say it's a lot more. It's very different from America. First off, we don't do carts. Like no one, unless you have like a physical disability, you can't be in a cart.
Wow. At all.
Yeah, I'd say in general, there's less of a drinking culture in Sweden as well when you're playing golf. Over here, it's a lot more cocktails and those things. Not as much in Sweden, I'd say.
Do you have a beer after the round or not?
Yeah,
at all?
absolutely. After the round, before the round, but not necessarily during
Before the round?
Yeah,
just not during.
You could, yeah.
Okay.
Not as much during.
I guess when you're walking, it is harder to kind of. That's part of the same thing, right? It's the cart. The cart is
like
basically just a
walking
big
back.
cup holder.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure.
Okay, so no drinking.
And then obviously, yeah, like the season's so much shorter than it is here, so I guess for me, when I was growing up, junior tournaments would start in April maybe, and then last one would always be like probably early October. So it is a shorter period of time to play tournaments, and the golf course just get cold and poor over the winter time.
Obviously, you've produced a lot of really good professional golfers, male and female. I mean, and I feel like it's just continuing to trend up. Why is that? How can that be the case in such a cold weather country where you have limited access to outdoor golf?
I think our national team structure is really good. If you look at all the players, they've all come through the national team. And so there's basically two major high schools for golf in Sweden. I went to one of them, and there's one a little bit further north. And it's a great foundation. It's very similar. The structure is very similar to college. You wake up, you have training, you have normal school, and then you have practice, and then, you do all these things. And I think for me, at least, that was basically where I laid the foundation, like we talked about before in my game. And then the national team provides you with tournaments in Europe, and we get to travel a little bit. Even though it is cold, we still get to see grass once a month, outside. So I think, a lot of credit to the national team and the high school structure. And I think it's just going to get better and better. I think we're just seeing the start of it, I would say.
Is there pressure to specialize early? Like how quickly in your life did you have to decide, okay, golf is going to be my thing versus others?
I decided when I went to high school. So before high school, I didn't know. I'm big into football or soccer, and I still love it. And that was what I wanted to do. And I know the philosophy of when they're taking the admissions to the high school, they're actually looking at kids who didn't specify. And they're looking at kids who did multiple different sports, coordination and, the team spirit. And like being in a locker room after you've lost is actually a pretty big lesson to learn when you're 10 years old. Versus just being on a golf course and, just doing your own thing. Plus from a physical standpoint, it's different playing golf versus other sports.
What would have been your scouting report of yourself when you were entering high school?
I would have been 14 or 15 years old. Hadn't spent too much time on the range. Was skinny, lanky, pretty tall. Decent player, but nothing, impressive at all. And something like that probably.
And then when did a switch flip and why?
I would say somewhere around mid high school probably. I won a couple tournaments in Sweden, like junior tournaments, and that's when I got into the national team. I got to travel a little bit, and then I won a tournament in England. And after that, it was kind of like I just got better. I thought it was more fun, practice a little bit better, but. I was never really like the main guy in Sweden. I was never, I wouldn't think at least. I was always looking at other guys who were better than me, and that was the case when I went to college too. So I think it's always been that way.
Are there other people that we would have, heard of that you were playing golf with in high school or in Sweden or at least like looking up to?
Yeah, I think so. So my class in high school was Lynn Grant and Maya Stark. So we all went to class together for 4 years, training, school lessons, all these things. Tim Vieding went to the same high school as well. He just got his tour card through Korn Ferry this year.
Yeah.
I think those would be us from our school, and I know there's a bunch coming too.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty high concentration from a high school. It's one thing from like a top college. Do you think that there's, any connection between Swedish culture and success at golf? Like, why does it work?
I think it is a little bit keeping your head down, and I'd say you're never better than anyone else. You know what I mean? It's almost like this guy's always going to be better than me. Like you're almost like looking down at yourself a little bit, which just, even though that might not be true, I think it still gives you an incentive to go practice a lot. Because Swedes in general, they play a lot, they practice a lot, they work out in the gym, they all do all the right things.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not going to be a whole lot of, Johnny footballs in Sweden.
That's interesting.
think,
Yeah. So
yeah.
like the individualism is just not
Yeah, I think
rewarded
so.
as much. So
Yeah.
even in an individual sport, you can, I guess, you didn't like to practice when you were young, but once you started to understand what you were supposed to do, did the discipline come somewhat naturally?
I think so. I think I've always been disciplined. It was just I didn't know any better, and I thought golf was fun.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I got introduced to training and practice, and I still did it the same way. It was just a different method, and obviously that made me maybe a lot better pretty quickly, I think.
You said that in college you still didn't really feel like you were the guy, and you could look around at other guys that were. But at a certain point, you kind of became the guy, right? Or is this what you're talking about with your sort of Swedish denial, where
Yeah,
you
maybe
still
a
are
little
more
bit.
comfortable
I mean,
not thinking about it that way?
I'd say apart from like my senior spring, I never thought of that. I mean, yeah, I played great for, I guess, 3.5 years up until that point, but I never thought of myself as like the best player in college golf. And yeah, certain parts of my game definitely was, but I would never look at someone else and thinking like, oh, I'm so much better than you. You know what I mean?
And partly that's got to be the nature of golf, right?
I think
Like it's
so.
not like you're going one-on-one in basketball with someone where like I could take anyone in the world.
I probably would have liked my chances against anyone, but I
In-
wouldn't
in
go
basketball
like,
or
no,
in
no,
golf?
no, fucking basketball. I can't dunk. But yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but I guess just to say, like, any given day, your college teammate, if he has his best day and you have, a medium day, then you can just go get beat, even if you feel like you're on top of the world.
Yeah, I think so. And we had a great team at Tech where, every qualifier we played, there was always someone new who was winning, and you needed to play well to qualify for the tournaments. And I think that was a good switch for me, because we hadn't really had that same competitiveness in Sweden growing up. Like we don't really do high school tournaments. We just do, like there's not that many teams you can go play against. There's only like a couple. So we don't really have the same high school system. So when I got to college, it was great. Like we played a lot more, we competed a lot more, and I thought that was great.
That's interesting. So yeah, what is it like? Because I've heard your coach Hans talk a little bit about the process and setting you up for like long-term competition rather than just short-term, wins or losses. But what do you do? How do you satisfy your competitive juices?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, like you said, no matter what I do today, I'm gonna do the same thing tomorrow. So like, no matter if I win today or if I don't win today, I'm still gonna go up tomorrow and do the same thing. So that's not going to change. Although obviously winning is very satisfying, and whether that's winning around here or at home or a tournament, it's always going to be satisfying. And I think you have to have that. You have to have a little bit of that competitive edge and wanting to beat the other guy, but still keep a balance. It's a tricky balance, though. It is, for sure.
Was there a moment or a tweak that you made or a certain memory that you have where you're like, that's when I knew that, okay, I wasn't just going to be a good junior player and maybe get into a college, but actually I feel like I could be competitive with the best guys in the world?
When I was in college, you think, or in general?
I mean, maybe it was earlier. Maybe it was when you were 15 and you hit a ball 300 yards for the first time, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I've always had, the idea of being really good at golf. I've always seen myself as a good player. Maybe not the best player, but certainly a good player. And I think once I was able to come to America and I won a few tournaments as a junior player in Sweden. Obviously, when you get the recognition in Sweden, you always know there's kids in America, there's kids in Europe. Like there's always someone else. So I think once I got to America, it's like starting over, really, and it was like a new thing. And you got all these guys from Florida who's played golf all year round for their whole life, and I hadn't at that point. So that was very different, but I think definitely kind of came towards me as it went on.
But you always had it in mind that this was something you were gonna try to pursue.
Yeah, it was
for as long
always
as
something
you
that I
could.
was wanting to do, but it was never like a must. It was never like, I have to become a professional golfer. I have to do this. Like, well, if I do, I do, great. If I don't, you know what I mean? And if I don't, I'll have an education. And I think that was always like I never felt the pressure like I have to do this. Like this is my only chance. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
What does that other road look like? Do you know where you'd be right now if you
I can tell you.
finished school? And
I mean, I'd like to think the amount of time and effort and energy that I've spent becoming good at golf, I would have quickly translated that into something else if I figured out early on that I wasn't going to be good at golf. But because I felt like I was going to, I obviously kept doing that. And but what that would look like, I couldn't tell you.
It's a pretty big what if. I don't think you have to worry about that. In terms of where you are now, you do stand out. People are asking for time with you. They're sitting tables and asking you questions about yourself. Is there a part of you that is like, I don't really love talking about myself this much?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, I think preferably I wouldn't, but I understand it's a part of the game, and obviously I love playing golf, and this comes with it, I guess. But I'm never going to be the guy who like seeks attention or who seeks to be in the center. That's just not my personality, and whether I play golf or not, that's just who I am.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier a little bit about your favorite part of golf is probably the process, and the ongoing challenge. Am I characterizing that correctly?
Yeah, that's true.
Like what is it? It's not the personal attention. It's not the glory. It's not that you get to come on this
I think it's just
podcast.
like an endless challenge, and yeah, it's definitely not, being seen or heard or being on a magazine or something like that. It's definitely not that. I just, I like the process, like you said. I love waking up every day and be like, oh, what can I do today? To get a little bit better or whatever. It might sound super cliche, but it's actually very true. And like I said before, whether I win or not today, I'm still going to do that tomorrow because I enjoy it, because I like it. I think it's fun, and it's just fun to have that. Almost that's my job, and I'm super lucky to be able to call it my job.
Is the goal to be the best still, though? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Even though you're maybe not going to be one to beat your chest in front of your opponent or whatever, there has to be part of you that has gotten you this far that is like, I want to be the best player in the world. I think
for sure. I think
I'm better than everyone
I think you
else.
should always have goals that in front of you, whether that's a short term or a long term. I think it's important to have those things, to be able to make decisions and to work towards those at all times. So I can easily go, well, is that going to help me or is it not going to help me? And then I can easier make a decision based on that. And yeah, certain things just works that way, I think.
Has there been a high point since you've turned pro?
Yeah, I think there's been a few. I think, obviously, Rome was a big deal for me. I thought that was really cool. But another one was, I think it kind of goes, when I won RSM, I didn't just win, I got into the top 50 in the world. And for me, that was like a big deal. I really wanted that. Because that meant, obviously, all the big tournaments for next year and get into the majors. And I got to kind of pick and choose my own schedule. So I think, obviously, winning RSM was great. It was unbelievable. But it was a big deal to get top 50 for me as well.
Yeah. I remember watching you come off 18 at Augusta, and it wasn't like you won the tournament, but Scotty was clear of the field, and so to some extent it was like you did everything you possibly could that week short of winning. Like it's as close you could be to winning the tournament without winning, if that makes sense. Your first time there. Do you look at that as like, wow, what an incredible week, that went better than even I could have expected, or how do you look back at that?
I think so. I definitely played good golf, obviously. I remember it was really hard. First couple of days was blowing a lot, and the golf course was played tricky. And I handled the conditions very good. And then it was just cool because, obviously, that was my first major. I hadn't played in a major before, and whether you like it or not, it is a little bit different, especially at Augusta where you know all the history, and it's the only major you come back to every year, so you know all the shots and all these things. And it was definitely like a childhood dream moment to walk up 18, knowing probably that I wasn't going to win, but it was still going to be a good week and a great tournament for me. So that was definitely a cool memory.
And you played Augusta in college, is that right?
Yeah, first time I played it was with school. We did a trip my freshman year, right before COVID hit, literally like 2 weeks before. One of the members took us out and we got to play it. So that was cool.
I mean, do you remember that feeling? Do you remember what it was like going on
Yeah,
the property? I mean,
I just
is that as
remember
insane as it seems like it would be? You're a freshman in college, you come to another country, now you're going to play the most famous golf course in the world.
I remember I was telling all my buddies back home, like, no. But it almost felt like I'd been there before because obviously you've seen it so many times. And but yeah, I remember like when you got number one kind of going across and you're like looking down to 7 and 2, and I just remember that was really cool. And I didn't realize like, oh, when number 6 is going this way, 16 is actually going this way, and number 12 is over there. Like I thought that was really
connected.
Cool. Yeah,
like
it's all connected. It's really cool.
It's all real life. Because I guess on TV you just see one hole and then you see the other holes. You don't see how they kind of interact. Do you how is it different than going to a tournament there, playing a tournament there versus just being hosted by a member?
I think there's a lot of differences between Augusta and a normal tournament. I mean, one thing is just so simple, but like the scoreboards are different and people are not on their phones. They're a lot more engaged. And I remember, I mean, obviously we look at the scoreboards because we don't have any other ways to see the scores. And I remember coming down to 10 one of the days and there's this big cheer because they switched the number of someone making a birdie or something like that. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Like, no one's on their phone, no one's updating. It's just all looking at the scoreboards. And you just don't get that anywhere else. It's almost like you're traveling back in time.
The phone thing is crazy. And we talk about this all the time, but it's, I actually can't think of many other places in like the civilized world where there's that many people together for a full day without their phones, and the effect that it has is kind of wild.
Yeah, I just don't know where that would be, to be honest with you. It's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
And they're so much more engaged, like when you're walking down the fairway or you're on the green and you can tell, like, they're not on their phones.
Tiger talks about all the time how people don't clap anymore in golf. There's no clapping because if you're near someone in the stands and you're just holding your phone up, and you've only got one hand to work with. You got your drink in the other hand too. So
that's interesting though.
So at Augusta, there's still like applause, and that doesn't really exist anywhere else. Have you felt your own celebrity kind of impacting your day-to-day life in any interesting ways?
I mean, not in an interesting way, I'd say. I mean,
how in any uninteresting ways?
I mean, I've definitely felt myself becoming a little bit more private, and like I said before, I'm not going to be like seeking the attention, and there's certain places like I'll avoid it because I just don't, I can't be bothered. And yeah, sometimes when I go to the grocery store, like people ask me questions, and if I go to Sweden or if I go to Lubbock or something like that, yeah, there'll be a little bit more noise, but it's not something that's, it's not bothering me. It's just, it's a part of it, I guess.
Do you try to get back to Sweden a lot?
As much as I can. I'd love coming back. I was there over the summer. Probably won't be until next year, unfortunately, but yeah, that's where my family is, and that's always going to be home for me. So yeah, at some point I definitely want to get a place in Sweden so I can just go back and not stay with my parents. But
yeah,
I definitely want to. I definitely go back as much as I can.
And when you go back, is there a sense of like, Ludvig, like, here's the guy that made it, or is it like they still treat you the same as they always would have?
I think it depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to my parents or my close family or my close friends, they're like, they don't care. Like, they really don't care about golf. And I'll show up at my friend's house and he starts talking about football, or it's just, I'm just their friend, which I think is really important, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, maybe if you go, to a grocery store, someone else might react a little bit different, but I'm from a pretty small town, so there's not a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
But actually so where I'm from, we're like 15,000 maybe.
Okay.
And we were 5 athletes in the Olympics this year from the same city.
No way.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Why? What's in the water? What's the secret?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
What sports were they?
So I was golf, 1 table tennis guy, and 3 handball guys.
Did you play handball?
I did a little bit growing up.
Does everyone play handball? Like
50-50 probably, yeah. It's cool though. It's fun. I love watching it.
5 athletes.
Yeah.
So this is like my essential question that I
It's
still.
like a little small town. No one cares about. No, can't say that.
Why did you make it? Is it mental, physical, situational?
Yeah, good question. I think, obviously, I've always trusted. I mean, I always go back to thinking about the high school. I think if I didn't go to that high school, I probably wouldn't have gotten to here. Maybe, it definitely would have been a lot slower. But yeah, I think it's a mix. I've always had a good balance between, if I shoot 65 or 75, I'm still me, and I think that's a really important distinction. And that was the case all through high school and all through college, and so far in the pros as well. I think a lot of guys beat themselves up when they're not having the best days, and I mean the golf career is so long, and there's so many rounds and so many golf shots hit that you can't live and die on every shot. If you do, it's going to be really hard. So I feel like I take pride in being the same person on and off and have a balanced life, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need golf to feel good about myself or to be healthy, you know what I mean?
That's huge.
I think so.
Is it daunting how much golf you have to play? I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot more than college.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest change I've experienced since turning pro. It's just the amount of golf that you play. Obviously more tournaments, but then there's also more practice rounds and more tournament rounds. Instead of 3 rounds, you play 4, and it's just a tighter schedule. You play a lot more, and I mean, I try to say it as much as I can to anyone who asks me, like, if you can prepare somehow before you turn pro, I would play as much as I can, because that's what you're going to do when you turn pro. So yeah, it is a lot. And learn how to score with, maybe a miss in the bag, or I'm not feeling too good, but you still got to go out and play and score. And, yeah, I think so.
What are your weaknesses, your vices? Like,
In
you're
golf?
painting a portrait of as a person, like junk food, trash TV, like you're painting a picture of a pretty disciplined guy who's
Yeah, I think
got
so.
it pretty well figured out.
I think so. I'd like to think so. Yeah, one of my weaknesses, I mean, I think we all have weaknesses at some point, whether that's...
I mean, it seems like maybe the rest of us.
No. Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think I've gotten to practice my time management a lot more. I used to be really poor at that. I used to be, double booked every day. I used to be having to be at 3 places at the same time, and I still do that every now and then. But
You gotten better at saying no?
I've gotten better at saying no. I think so. I'm still not very good at saying no, but getting there.
Wow.
Butler, my agent's helping me.
I'm glad you didn't say no to this. We do have to let you go, but thanks, Ludvig. We'll have to have you back on once you think of a weakness, but appreciate it.
I came across pretty. Thank you.
No, that's great.